In 2005, the second S&S Sky Swat opened at Thorpe Park Resort. However, just 12 years later in 2017, the ride would permanently be closed and left to rot. So what happened to this once innovative and unique ride design?
Your ride is about to begin. Hold on tight at all times and prepare to endure the full throttle rotating freefall experience of Slammer.
From when Thorpe Park opened, they've always had a wide selection of flat rides, from Detonator, Zodiac and Vortex, all in 2001, to Samurai in 2004. The lineup was only to increase when Thorpe Park announced 2 new flat rides for the 2005 season, both being manufactured by S&S worldwide. One of these new flat rides would replace the Eclipse, a Ferris wheel that only lasted 2 years as it didn't fit with Thorpe Park's transition into a thrill theme park. In 2005, Rush opened, with it basically being a giant swing ride. At the time of its opening, it was the tallest ride of its type in the world, and many consider it to be one of the best flat rides in the UK. At the S&S factory, also known as the S&S Playground, the first prototype of the Sky Swatter had been made. This first prototype then moved to Six Flags AstroWorld in Texas. This was the first Sky Swat in the world until Thorpe Park would purchase the second. On the site of the Ontario Playground, land started to be cleared in late 2004. The ride was officially announced in 2005, with Thorpe Park stating it was the most awesome rotary thrill ride. The ride promised to give the same experience as a freefall but not have to jump off a plane. The Sky Swatter featured a long arm which sat between 2 towers. On either side of the arm were 4 rows of 6 seats. The total throughput was estimated at 800 to 900 riders per hour. When the Sky Swatter began operation, the arm was lifted to the top of the towers, where it then began to spin. As the arm spun between the 2 towers, riders orbited either up or down around the centre. After a few flips, the ride reversed and flipped in the opposite direction. Riders could experience speeds greater than 30 miles per hour. Many riders said that the actual seat of the ride was comfy, however that couldn't be said for the restraints. If you've ever been on Rush or Mumbo Jumbo at Flamingo Land, then these restraints were familiar. A lap bar secured the lower half of your body, and then essentially half of an overhead restraint was pulled down to secure the rider's shoulders. The restraints were designed this way to give riders freedom and not feel as if they're strapped in and secure. The bad thing about these restraints is that if the shoulder restraints are pushed down too much, it can make for a very uncomfy ride experience, but also the lack of handles to grab onto.
The greater challenge there is to put a restraint on that that doesn't enclose you so terribly much that the experience is lost. See, it's all relative. In other words, we could build a restraint as all a bunch of foam and cover you completely up and hold your head, nice big foam stuff, but then you've lost the experience. And I've said for years and years, we need to get the restraints smaller and smaller so that your exposure is greater, because that's what pumps up our adrenaline.
As the music started, the arm was lifted to the top. It would then start spinning and the cycle would begin. You'd get 6 full 360-degree turns. After 3 turns, the ride would slow down and send you the opposite way before lowering you back to the ground. The experience was something completely different, something that had not ever been seen in the UK. The ride was intense. Some considered it to be the UK's best flat ride, while others weren't so keen. While some thought it was unpleasant and uncomfy, it provided Thorpe Park with something unique and a high throughput flat ride. However, while Slammer had a high throughput, it was plagued with technical issues, leading to a large downtime for the ride. Reliability issues started occurring from its opening in 2005. The ride would get stuck with the arm locked at the top of the tower. The opening of the ride was delayed from the park's opening day, March the 26th, until March the 28th, and shut down for more than 2 weeks following a fault on the second day of operation. Alongside that, reports say that in the opening season, on one of the rides, the shoulder restraints unlocked and rose during operation, which then had to be reprogrammed. In another incident during the 2006 season, the levelling mechanism failed on March the 18th, leaving riders trapped at a 45-degree angle.
Experiencing a slight technical problem and a seat separation. At the moment, we do not know how long today will be, so it may be in the best interest to try some other rides before returning to Slammer a little bit later on in the day. Once again, at the moment, Slammer has experienced a slight technical problem.
One of the problems was that the computers controlling the ride had to manage the weight on both sides of the paddle, and this was just the start of all the problems to come. In 2010, S&S discontinued the Sky Swat ride, and the one located at Six Flags AstroWorld was moved to Six Flags New Zealand after AstroWorld permanently closed. The ride then closed in 2013, leaving Slammer as the only one operating in the world. However, technical issues with Slammer still continued. Slammer was closed before the end of the 2010 season and had faults preventing the full lift of the arm at the start of 2011. Between 2012 and 2014, Slammer at Thorpe Park went through major downtime. For 2012, Slammer did not open until October. All signage for the ride was removed at the end of 2012, which gave the impression that Thorpe Park were not planning to reopen the ride anytime soon. For Fright Nights in 2013, the ride was completely removed from the actual park map, which suggested that the ride was going to close. However, at the start of the 2014 season, the ride could be seen testing with sand-filled dummies, which suggested that the ride would open once again. Slammer operated for the 2015 season starting in May, opening later than the rest of the park and closed when the park closed. The ride was also closed at 3 PM for a 15-minute inspection. Even though the ride was operational, Slammer ceased operation in the park occasionally due to technical or mechanical errors. Slammer remained closed for the duration of that year's Fright Nights, but could be seen operating occasionally before it was closed for the season on October 15. 2016 was one of Slammer's best operating years, with very little downtime and things looked on the rise. Until May 2017, when Thorpe Park would announce that Slammer was permanently closed and would not operate at the resort again. The last remaining Sky Swat had closed. Rumours started circulating that the ride had been sold on, with Thorpe Park stating, "Who said it's getting scrapped?" But what happened with the ride was absolutely nothing. The ride was left abandoned alongside Logger's Leap. The area was used for Fright Night Maze queue lines up until 2020/2021, when the queue line was used for Black Mirror Labyrinth. The two towers still remains at the park to this day. However, with this area being near the site of a potential new coaster at Thorpe Park, could we maybe be seeing the complete removal of Slammer? Thorpe Park took a risk in installing the first Sky Swat ride in the UK. While it received mixed reviews, it was a high throughput ride and an intimidating ride to look at. The ride was not reliable and was constantly having downtime. The Sky Swat ride is now extinct. Unfortunately, the co-founder of S&S Technologies passed away on the 2nd of January 2022. My thoughts go out to the family and friends of Stan Checkett's. He made many staple theme park attractions around the world. Did you enjoy Slammer? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you did enjoy the video, consider subscribing, as I make theme park content every week for you to enjoy. And before that's said and done, thank you for watching Theme Park Enthusiast, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.
Attention please. At present, Slammer is running for test purposes only, and we are unsure how long it will be before Slammer resumes operation. When further information is available, we will pass it on to you. Once again, at present Slammer is running for test purposes only, and we are unsure how long it will be before Slammer resumes operation. When further information is available, we will pass it on to you.